Hello, Hannah.
Good morning.
And hello, listeners, and welcome to Expected Volume. However, it may not be known as Expected Volume for long. Because, friends, Hannah has no obligations to contribute to the production of this show. However, the other day, she sent me a text message with a name for this show. It stopped me in my tracks. I was like, that is perfect. She's just distilled it. Really, really, really nailed it. So if you're ready for this, I'll share it. Chatbot rat thoughts. I mean, the depth and the layers, Hannah.
Spell them out.
You know chatbot?
What are all the layers? Let's go one by one.
So chatbot, right? We're interested in AI. It's like a big thing that you and I and perhaps our listeners care a lot about. So yeah, chatbot's like something. Then rat as a reference to the rationalist community of which we're a part. And then thoughts. I mean, we're just here sharing our thoughts.
Not everyone likes that designation.
Whatever, rationalist diaspora community. It's relevant. It's relevant. Wow. I mean, just working on so many levels there.
So many levels. What you don't know is how I came up with that, which is I was in a fugue state late at work. And the nature of my work is that I watch the same clips of my colleague talking over and over and over in order to provide edits for videos. And so there's like a real, I don't know if you want to call it a flow state or like an ayahuasca adjacent psychedelic experience that comes from watching the same thing over and over again. But you get a little loopy at 10 p.m. And I was like, what if we freestyled the hook? What if the first 2 minutes of this YouTube video are actually the white girl stylings of Chana the singer? And then I was like, what rhymes with chatbot?
Rat thought.
Rat thought. The rest of it.
and look, I mean, you know, and me just, you know, being the kind of straight man, kind of formalist person that I am in this arrangement, whatever. I thought like, what are the principles here? Maybe people like concision. I can compress all these ideas a little bit with importantly a lot of loss of value from chatbot rat thoughts. And so like, maybe we could just call it Rat GPT.
Yeah, it is good. It's good. I like it. And this is really apropos because as you may have seen from my Twitter, I asked ChatGPT to write the first 4 paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence in a style, well, first of a LessWrong blog post, and then I gave specific names, an Eliezer, an Ali Habrika. It has some of it.
Nice. I like caught a little bit of wind of this, but we are recording on 4th of July weekend. Happy 249th birthday to America. Yeah, I will link to your LessWrong style Declaration of Independence. I'm sure it's a banger. Okay, so outside of naming news, I decided that today we should have a theme. We're gonna focus. We're gonna talk about an issue that matters to us, and by us I mean me.
Well, this is so appropriate because I literally was going to come in and say I have a crazy idea for this podcast, and you were going to say what, and then I was going to say, what if I let you actually run the podcast?
Perfect. Wow, we're so insane.
You and listeners are like, does Chana seem kind of low energy today? Know that I am doing it. This is what it looks like when I'm letting someone else talk.
Well, unfortunately, I mostly just have questions for you. Maybe there's a bit of wind up, and the wind up will end up taking 45 minutes. We'll see.
That's fine. Usually I both ask and answer the question. So
so much more balanced. Yeah. So as we established in our talk about the title, we are like vaguely connected to this whole rationalist project, as it were. Maybe more than vaguely. Who knows? Hannah's making a face.
Who knows?
Well, there's this other project as well, the Effective Altruism Project. And I am wondering, Hannah, do you think that I, Matt Reardon, am an effective altruist?
Good. We're doing personality typology, which, as you know, is every online girl's favorite hobby. Well, I think there's 4 questions, right?
Okay, we'll write them down.
Well, are you effective?
Arguably.
You did get this podcast to happen. That was impressive. You took 2 years of a really unhinged Twitter bio. So unfortunately, I think of you as sort of a central example of an effective altruist. For all of your frenzy of the bulwark against nihilism and the Burkean conservatism and the this and the that, you're just a simp for the utils. So I don't know what the question here is.
Okay, great. So you were supposed to be almost offended by the question, be like, duh, like fucking obviously, Matt, like you are the most central example. You did it much more delicately, so thanks.
Yeah.
But anyway, here's
one of my more delicate things.
So for the utils, I mean, it sounds like a compliment to me, which maybe suggests an answer to the question in itself.
I think this is the CEA should rebrand. I don't know why they haven't been listening to me.
Yeah, util-simped.org.
Util.simp.
Oh yeah, even better. Yeah, so much better. Okay, so here's my argument against.
Yeah, great.
I obviously love EA.
Sure.
But I think one can love EA and not be an EA. And this is like this is going to have some echoes of like aspiring rationalist, aspiring effective altruist, or whatever. But I also don't think I'm aspiring. I think I am like content in my shortcomings with respect to EA. In a way that like, you know, it's like, well, he loves EA, but he's not an EA because he's not doing the thing. And let me just like lay it out for you. So what is EA?
Let's Matt Talk podcast. Don't worry.
Yeah. Sorry, I said there was going to be a wind up. Here comes the wind up. What is EA? I think it's like you should have some coherent theory of like other oriented welfare. I'm going to use the word welfare. Maybe there's like some other word for benefit, do-gooding, whatever. Just fine. So you should have some coherent theory, right? And then you should look at the world empirically and just be like, all right, what parts of the world kind of scream out as being particularly relevant to my theory, such that I should work on them. This is cause prio, like pick a problem, pick a thing to work on that says your theory of welfare really needs a marginal contributor there, and identify what the most important marginal contribution could be, and then go and do the contribution. And marginal contribution is determined by classic, importance, tractability, neglectedness framework. Also, importantly, anytime we're introducing EA as a concept, don't be a shithead. This isn't just utilitarianism or some kind of like mock-up of utilitarianism. Is like a sort of utilitarianism for real people, such that you're only dedicating so much of your time and energy and resources towards a thing, and you're not making stark trade-offs. It seems like a sensible thing. It's not like mathematically perfect, but like, hey, that's why it has a different name. I have to throw that in there.
Sure,
anyway, but these things.
This is very good. This is more careful than I've ever been my whole life.
Well, thanks. I did work for like the Center for Effective Altruism before it was called Effective Ventures, right? Remember, everything was called CEA. It's like history. 80,000 hours is embedded in this, and I did this. I talked to people about the ideas or whatever. So I have some practice. Sure. But here's the thing: I love EA. I love that thing that I just described. Those ideas, that practice. Now there's like a couple of different worlds you can live in.
Like the royal family.
We'll bring it back to monarchy. We'll bring it around to monarchy soon enough.
Yeah, we always do. It's 4th of July weekend. How can you not?
Okay, but there are worlds, right? There are worlds where those ideas matter a whole lot, like they're really important, and you should be ruminating on them a ton. And there are worlds where they don't, because like basically, and the worlds where they don't are just the worlds where like the causes and problems they recommend are like so obvious and quick and easy to agree on that you don't need to spend much time ruminating on the ideas.
Or causes vary by in terms of tractability, importance, blah blah blah, by more than 10x, or thinking harder does not reliably get you to better solutions, and every big revelation gets overturned 2 years later and turns out to have done more harm than good, and so you should just like give up on the project, blah blah blah. I think there are many worlds where thinking about this is the right call.
Anyway, increasingly, it feels like we're in one of those worlds. And so the idea is...
This is such a distinguished from the soul of EA is being lost because everyone's into AI safety. It's
Well,
been like
what I'm saying is
4 weeks.
no, totally. Wait, no, I'm going to make this all make sense for you. Okay, I'm going to make this all make sense for you.
I'm ready. Go.
The ideas are not self-recommending. The ideas are not like, oh, the like obvious most important marginal contribution to some theory of welfare is to care a lot about your theory of welfare. It is like to do the thing, right?
Not self-recommending.
And what I'm saying is I'm ruminating on the ideas and the principles because I like the ideas and the principles so much. And everyone else is doing this other thing because what they would tell me is they live in a world where these ideas are just not that important. And you know what? They might be right. And the reason I'm not an EA is because I don't care if they're right.
Yeah, good. Yeah, this sort of goes back to last week's podcast, right? Where like I sort of described intellectualism in part as like merely a hobby.
Yeah.
And like EA could just, or thinking about EA could just be a hobby. And it is for you. So because you think you're not. So is it because in your soul, like when you go and the like utilitarian Osiris weighs your heart and the feather, he will know that you didn't care if the ideas were true. You just found them intellectually appealing? Or is it that you in fact do not do anything on effectiveness grounds?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't think it is like that clean of a binary. Wow.
Like the binaries now.
I think Osiris draws that conclusion. He's like, fundamentally, that's what you were doing.
Sure.
It just so happened that in the course of doing that, there was a lot of effectiveness, so that's nice.
Sure.
But like, it wasn't like you weren't necessarily going for it.
But like, I think a core element of effective altruism is that it doesn't matter what your soul says. Maybe too strong a feature, one might argue, over the last few years. But it's like okay that a lot of people come here on vibes. It's okay that we're like, wow, effectiveness vibes are so like compelling. Competence vibes are so attractive. Tech and logic can solve all of our problems, and that addresses some deep trauma I have. That's okay. It's okay to get there. That's okay. That's fine. I intend to like demonstrate to the world via a YouTube channel, not only that these ideas are compelling and true and real, but also that there are all of these like cool and interesting people who have purpose and meaning and know each other and work together. And I think that is, a deeply attractive feature. And if they get excited by that, and like, that's what Osiris says at the end of the day, look, does that predict exactly what we wanted to predict? We talked about this with Trevor. Maybe you like think that people who are like more deeply committed in some like ideological fashion might make better decisions when push comes to shove. I don't know. We can like dig all that out. But I'm like, we all come to things with a melange of influences and impetuses. And I think that's just fine. I think
yes.
I think you're okay, Matt. It's okay to be you.
Well, that's a much steeper hill to climb. Yeah, I agree. Like the Osiris question is not like the question that EA cares about.
That's right.
EA doesn't care about your motivations, doesn't care about the countermeasures, cares about your ultimate positive impact on like the outward facing world and others. And I'm saying I'm going to fall short on the
mistake to decide that like the motivations don't matter at all to the vibes or how we get along or how we interface, and then totally like ignore it when we think about creating community and creating structure and creating institutions. So that would be a classic game mistake to make that I don't want to be making here.
Agreed. But my basic claim is that I'm going to come up short on the ultimate ledger. And it's not just because I like have
totally separate from what your soul was aiming at.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, but how much shorter than everybody else? By utilitarian,
perhaps a lot.
By utilitarian standards, we're like all like deeply, deeply, deeply far from perfect. I mean, it's so Christian, right?
Yeah, no, totes.
So much sin.
Like perfection isn't
so much sin all day, every day.
But like the perfection isn't the bar here. It's just like my own potential. If I had a different soul and a different orientation, that maybe the ideas I'm so obsessed with endorse me having.
I mean, how are you so steeped in respect for the other people that you just think like most people are achieving most of their potential? I
a lot more than me.
Like how much more? Let's quantify it. What % of your potential do you think you're currently hitting?
I don't know what you do all day, Hannah.
Wait, you surely don't think I'm achieving my potential. You've been spending 2 years yelling at me for not achieving my potential.
Your potential to amuse me and the ideas I happen to be fascinated with. Yes, true. And that's
Yeah,
and where I'm Osiris, that's a very important potential.
I think you think on fully utilitarian grounds that like I should be on YouTube. I think you have thought this for a long time.
Yeah, I suppose so.
And I think
and like, you know,
that, like, and if you were willing to think in these terms, you would say like Chana is like failing to achieve the good and her potential because she like won't look, you know, deep into the heart of the camera and know that that's where goodness lies.
No. Right on.
YouTube algorithm.
Okay, Hannah. We're setting ourselves up really well here.
I knew it. I knew this was all beats for the guest.
Who is just like obviously, both soul and impact wise, vastly better than both of us.
Well, Howie, but he's asleep.
All right, you're kind of in the right vein.
I don't really want to list all the people I think are great. Although
you get one more guess. I'm only giving you one more guess. You get one real guess.
Katya Grace.
So incredibly close. So incredibly close.
Joe Carlsmith?
No. Oh, we're getting a little further.
All right.
Hannah,
I give up.
We're in our white girl season. You forget.
Of course.
Hello.
And it's Julia.
Oh, this is so good. Wow. Wow. Welcome to the white girl season.
Yeah.
I don't think Julia knew about that.
Wow, it is so good to see you. Hello.
It's great to see you. So whatever you guys were just riffing about is unknown to me, but here we go.
That's right. That's right. And your presence was unknown to me until about 5 seconds ago. This is great.
Great. Julia needs no introduction. And Julia, for your own benefit and context, the thing that we were talking about just before you came on is how far short both Hannah and I fall of being as impactful and effective as we could be. And so I started making her guess like who would kind of put us to shame in this respect. And she got very close to guessing you in my view.
Man, it feels like there are enough different axes here that I'm like, I score pretty well in some axes, I have to say. Others, like, not at all. So, yeah, you're way more vegetarian than I am, for example.
It's true. I even gave up eggs. I went going one step at a time.
Yeah,
treading ever deeper into veganism, but never taking the plunge.
My oldest kid is currently the most, like, the most animal aware in her diet of anyone in her household currently. I like found this piece of paper in her room where she had tried to write out an explanation for her friend about why eggs were bad. And I have to say it did not make sense, but she did like try to write out about like why eggs in particular, which I admired.
It's very sweet. Where did she get that impression? Like, is she reading sort of the EA blog post about
Jeff, who does not himself believe that animals are moral patients at all? It's a weird.
Whoa.
This is like our party topic when people come to EA dinners at our house and they're like, "Oh, you've served us vegan food. Like, what's it like raising a vegan family?" I'm like, "That's not a thing. It's just for you. Like, it's just the easiest way to feed a crowd of EAs is like to make it pretty vegan, maybe some dairy." And then Jeff is like, "And I don't think animals matter at all." But it also really bothers him when people use like incorrect logic and stuff. So he was involved in some of the like early animal surveys of like, did leafleting work? I think he like did some leafleting and then like a follow-up, like he stood in Harvard Square. I hope I'm not making this up. And then they tried to find the same students like walking through Harvard Square who had gotten the leaflet the previous month, and did they make any changes? I think their sample size was too small. It's hard to get a well-powered leafleting study, but he was like into this like very early on. And then I had the bad fortune to come home from the hospital with our second child on the day when the results of this leafleting study came out. And like he and my housemates, who were like vegan activists, are just like sitting around like discussing the results of the leafleting study. And finally I'm like, "Someone please serve dinner." Like I really like this. You guys need to stop talking about this survey. I have this newborn and I needed to eat dinner now. Yeah, so that's our household. Anyway, yeah. a year and a half ago, somehow we were talking about killing animals for food, as you do. And then Lily ran and hid and cried under a table until Jeff went to talk to her. And somehow, when they came out, she was no longer eating meat or eggs, but yes, dairy. So he had explained to her, I think, the pros and cons of these different foods in terms of suffering, if you believe in that, which she does. And he was, being faithful to her beliefs and giving her the info she needed to make a lower suffering choice diet. But we're like, if you want to give up dairy, you have to eat beans or soy products. Like, you cannot be a vegan who doesn't eat those things. And so there's been a battle of like which foods are acceptable to her and the suffering profile of the other sources of protein.
Oh, that's so deeply tender, and wow. Sorry, I know Matt theoretically asked the questions. I even promised him that on this episode I would ever let him ask a question, but I'm now very curious. Julia worked with me for a long time. She knows my style. There's this constant question, right? Which is like, what is the deal with kids and animals and animal products, right? Like, they love animals. They get like taught what all the animal sounds are. And like kids just do seem to like love animals in like a deep, wholesome way. And then also mostly aren't vegetarian even when they learn the connection. Like, having now raised, like, you have 3 children who have like different relationships to all this. Like, do you have thoughts on a theory here?
One thing that Jeff points to when I'm like, oh, should we be like telling the kids more about like the relationship between where our food comes from and the like farm animals that we read about in books? He's like, farm children are less likely to be vegetarian than like urban children who have never met a chicken. And so he's like, more exposure will not necessarily, like, if your goal is to cause them to like consider the consequences here, like this, that won't necessarily meet your goal. Yeah, there's definitely this time where they're putting together, like my youngest was like, oh, it's weird that we use the same word fish for the thing that swims in the water and this like fish that I'm eating. And I had to explain.
The climax of a horror movie.
It's just like, oh, it's funny how like, yeah, synonyms. I'm like, it's not just a synonym. It's literally the same animal. And now she's like going through this thing of processing, like, what are bodies, what is death, like, how do bodies work, what happens when bodies stop working, and like including for animals. And so now periodically, like, we eat fish, and like she will say, like, first you catch a fish and then you kill it and then you put lemon and salt on it and then you eat it. Those are the steps. And I'm like, oh, there's like a few bits missing there, but like she's now got this, like, these concepts are like connecting for her. So
wow. Yeah.
I mean, people just aren't very global thinkers, right? They don't like they may make the connection if you like put them on the spot to make the connection, but I think in general it's like, oh, well, that was a neat thinking exercise, and then just like chill otherwise, right?
Yeah. But the other thing she's doing, and that the other kids have done too, is this, it is this like development of moral patienthood. And like Nora has started doing this, like, but the fish doesn't like that. Or we talk about like, oh, the cat wants to catch the rabbit in this book. And she's like, but the rabbit doesn't like that. And she's not fully apt about, like, we talked about like a lumberjack cutting down a tree. She's like, the tree doesn't like that. I'm like, well, as far as we know, like, trees don't have feelings. But she is like thinking about like who doesn't like what. And one of the earliest like kind of like moments of this in one of my other kids, she was like around 3. She was like, it's okay to call cars stupid head because a car doesn't have feelings, but a mama or a papa or a kid or a grandpa might have feelings, and so you can't call them stupid head. I was like, yes, you've hit it on the head. Like, that's it. So yeah, they are developing this, like, who has feelings, who has preferences. Do animals have preferences? I don't know where I'm heading with this. The other interesting thing that I realized recently talking to Cameron, who runs the Wild Animal Initiative, is that what they're called these days? Sure. Was like, when I think it's very odd that some animals like loons or like endangered animals are like very precious to like older people. But like little kids still love things like mice and squirrels and pigeons. Toddlers love pigeons. They're so enticing, and like adults have like started to think, be like scope sensitive and be like, there's so many pigeons and there's so few loons, like I'm gonna care about loons and maybe donate to like a loon preservation charity, but pigeons are not precious. And like, and we reinforce this by teaching kids like, oh, endangered species are valuable, and then some others are invasive and they're actively bad. Get rid of the gray squirrels. There's this whole gray squirrel thing in England. England has this whole complex about gray squirrels. To be fair, it's because they have some cheek disease that spreads to the red squirrels and kills them. But there's also a kind of weird anti-immigrant, maybe parallel or something to this. Of just like, there are people who just like go out with guns to like shoot the gray squirrels to protect their English forests. Anyway, kids view gray squirrels and all squirrels and pigeons as precious because they're so cool and they move around, they have feathers and whatever. And like, what would be different if we like didn't, I don't know, emphasize that like endangered animals matter more and others are pests?
Yeah,
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, a really interesting thing here is I mean, one is just narrative, right? The things that you have, you know, a more appealing, compelling narrative about are just things that matter more emotionally to you. Another maybe interesting one that ties into the child aspect of this is like just novelty, where like your capacity for novelty as a child is just like very, very high. And so yes, you find the gray squirrels and the pigeons to be novel in ways that like adults just have a much lower capacity for novelty. So they need the narrative and this thing to be an endangered species or whatever to attach any meaning to it.
I have like several more takes, many of which are probably silly, but like when I thought when you pointed out this feature of children and squirrels and stuff, I was like, maybe they're kind of aspirational. Like I remember the Sword in the Stone, the like Disney sort of retelling of the Arthurian legend. It's just like a really good, charming retelling. And one of the features is that the characters turn into different animals. And I do think there's something like, so like, what if I could be a squirrel? Like I could just like move so fast and like climb trees with ease, and like birds can just go anywhere. And like children are so motile and like want to be everywhere. And I almost wonder if there's something about like small squirreless, that's not the right word. It sounds like squirrel. Like small, fast moving animals feel the way that children want to move.
And in general, their sense of like, who am I and what are my possibilities are just like not as locked in. We were like watching a dance performance where there was like a drummer and a dancer and stuff. And like my then 3-year-old said like, I wish I could be everyone in the world. And I like didn't clock what this like meant. And then later I asked her what prompted her to say this. And she's like, because then I could be the person playing the drum and I could be the person dancing. And then like when we were watching the 4th of July fireworks last week, like during it, she said, I wish I could be the fireworks. And yeah, so her sense of just like, what are my aspirations are just like much broader in terms of like, I could be all the people, I could be a firework. We watched this like sunset one time and she's like, I want to sit on it. I was like, oh, what do you want to sit on? She's like, on the sunset.
We had this amazing community health conversation about like the glorious transhumanist future and our different relationships to it, because we have folks on the team who are more like MTG green, who are like a little more like the world and its like and its patterns and its complexities and its balances like sort of like as beautiful as it is, and then you have like my like, you know, techno brain like, what if we like optimized everything or whatever. And yeah, I just think this child would like do extremely well in the glorious transhumanist future. She would be a firework, and she would
be a firework sitting on the sunset. It'll be great playing the drums.
So good. Wow, I resonate so hard with wanting to be everything and everyone and live every life. That's great.
I feel like this might be downstream of high levels of executive function. Maybe the thing that happens when most people get old, or at least curmudgeons like me, is like, well, you try being and doing a few things, and you're like, oh my god, I want to be so much less. That was all a lot.
I will say, perhaps, you know, a little I don't know, less wholesomely or something. I think there's something we balance, I think, as people who try to be moral people in the world, like a sort of like maybe deep love of like humanity as a whole, or like value and joy and all that, with like different opinions about different humans. And I think there is something appealing to me about someone who has like enough engagement with the animal world. Maybe I'm taking this back to animals, to be like, well, some animals are good and some animals aren't. You know what I mean? It like feels less like why should you have one opinion on like the animal kingdom as a whole? You might be like, some of them seem to be really annoying or make loud noises or like kill other animals a lot, and some of them are just like much better like global citizens.
She's very opposed to wolves. She has a lot of takes about wolves, and they're all bad.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay, so I want to bring us back to the theme of the day, if I can. Maybe it's just like
which is what?
Totally off topic. Which is Matt an EA? We need to figure out if I'm an EA or not. And I don't know. You guys seem reasonably expert at this. So the very
tell people one by one if they count.
Well. You know, are you allowed in the community or not? Yes, but I think the argument that I made to Chana earlier was EA is a set of ideas that recommends actions. The ideas are not self-referential. They're not like, oh, the action is to care a bunch about the ideas. I mean, maybe in certain worlds they would recommend that, but it's not like in principle. Like there could just be a lot of worlds where the ideas don't matter very much. It's just very easy to converge on like what are the right problems and causes that we should all work on, and therefore like caring a lot about the ideas themselves that got you there just like isn't very valuable or important, because like it's actually pretty quick and easy to agree, and what you should really be concerned with is like creating impact in the technical area the ideas recommend. And my kind of reflection about myself to Chana was, I just care about the ideas themselves. Like I'm just really interested in them, even if I'm in a world where they don't matter very much and it's easy to converge on what's important. I want to like dredge up more of these debates and get more people like thinking about them and using them, even if they're like making various empirical mistakes along the way. And this actually, by the lights of the ideas, is not what EAs could or should be doing. Julia, I can only guess that you have like maybe struggled with something like this, or maybe not at all, because you've been so much more like tied to like last mile visceral impact on people.
Maybe. Okay, one thought is, I think different people are drawn different amounts to ideas in general, or like, yeah, different ways, different things that are like yummy to them, and different ways of like having status or something. And I think we're like in different amounts of denial about how much we're all pulled by status. Like I remember talking to a writer who was interviewing different people in like proto-EA, and talked to an unnamed philosopher who's deeply involved in EA, and asked them if you could have like the impact that you've had, or like have a bunch of impact, or you could be Derek Parfit and be like the greatest like philosophical mind in some way, or like of some set, like which would you choose? And they were just like, oh, that's like a really hard question. And so I think, I don't know, just like what we feel pulled to as a human or something doesn't have to be the same thing as like what we endorse acting on or something. And so like this person was acting on like trying to have a positive impact in the world, not trying to be like the greatest academic that they could be or something. But they still love the idea of like, what if I could be a firework / Derek Parfit? How do I feel? I don't know. Maybe there's something where like I came in being very like actiony. I have to take action on these like fairly simple ideas that I had kind of concocted as a teenager and like young adult, of like more charity is good, spending bad, donation good. And then I was like very action focused and signaling focused. And like some of the things that I like worked really hard on were to signal like to myself and to like, and Jeff, who was like the only other person I knew who like cared about this stuff at all, that we were like trying hard, and I was trying hard or something. And that resulted in like good stuff, like donating more to charity, and also just like pointless sacrifices, like only hanging laundry on the line, like in the depths of winter instead of using the dryer that was like right there. Um, I don't know. As things went on, it got like more, yeah, and I like got exposed to like more ideas about like, oh, there are like other things you can do besides just like be really frugal and donate your like low salary to charity. Um, Maybe I've lost the plot of where I was headed with this, but I don't
feel
know.
like
For
in
me, I think
conversations
the like status of being the person who tries really hard, it like is so entwined that it's like, well, if the right thing to do were like completely different, um, you know, like maybe I'm being inappropriately pulled by status of like being the person who tries hard in a particular, like on a particular axis, and then I'm like also like, well, given that actually a lot of Jeff and my impact is helping to be visible as an example of people who like try hard on this donation axis, then maybe like even if it would be better to donate less or to donate like to weirder stuff, for like people who weren't as like visible as us, like maybe it's actually best for us to like stick to the more kind of like sturdy recommendations, like robust places that it's just like, please go to get well, just like do the thing there, like probably very good. And then you can get more galaxy brained about like, oh God, maybe we're just like wrong about, or like, and the whole community or like much of the community is wrong about stuff like, is saving human lives good or something. And then maybe we're just like having a negative impact in a way that's like not very visible because most of the community thinks it's a mainstream thing to do.
How much does that potential bother you, that you're like doing the wrong thing?
It bothers me more the like closer we get to like, oh, dollars to like AI policy work just feel increasingly important to me. I think we both, like Jeff and I both are like putting off a bit of a like dilemma here or something of like, well, we often make like a chunk of donations over the summer and a chunk in December, and this is the first time that I think we're both independently being like, oh, I feel like the chunk towards weirder stuff of our donations should maybe just like continue to increase.
So my issue is that when I confront that question, Julia, I just don't care at all. I'm just like, go to GiveWell because it looks cool and it just like, is an exemplar of like the ideas, and it will turn people onto the ideas. And even if it's wrong, like people got turned on by the ideas. And I'm Derek Parfit in your Parfit story, and that's just great, and that's just fine. And this, I think, makes me a bad EA, if not an EA.
But is this like in your own donation, or what do you encourage other people to do? Both?
Yeah, I think mostly in my own kind of donations and activities and things that I say and emphasize in my like work and effort. Yeah, I mean, for the purpose of like turning other people on, like that's my idea. And what I turn them on to, as long as it's like in the ballpark, I'm like happy with. And it's not necessarily because I think that some portion of them are going to go and do the most marginally impactful thing. It's just like, well, because now the ideas have risen in status in some important sense. And like the status of the ideas and the impact of the ideas just like seem like not necessarily related. And if I don't care about the latter, then I'm probably just making big mistakes in expectation.
Okay, this is gonna maybe be like too relaxed and sanguine for you because you're always looking for fire and brimstone. But about a year ago, 2 years ago, CEA was looking for its new CEO. We had our managing director, our interim managing director, Ben West, and there was a search. And one of the things that happened during the search is that Max Dalton asked me to consider applying, which made me realize how desperate they must have been, because I do not think I was on the top good list of people who could be a CEO. And I talked to my partner and I was like, what would even be the vision? Like, what's the plan here? And he pointed out that on some level, I like the nerdy stuff and whatever, but on some other level, I am just kind of like a cheerleader for EA. I'm like, It's so good when people have like good conversations. Are they like doing good? I don't know, but look at them talking and like deeply thinking about welfare. It's so good. I just love it. It makes me so happy. And like that would just, and so in that vision, I would have been there would have been like a real like CEO, COO who was actually like doing the work, and I would have just been like out cheerleading or something. And that's not what they went with, to be clear. Nor did I.
Making videos instead, huh?
Exactly. So I think maybe I'm finding my niche anyway. But I did not apply on the basis of like basically not having a vision for this. But a dear friend of mine wrote, when I wasn't going to apply, literally wrote a like a Chana for president of EA, like Google Doc, like on this basis of like, what if you were just kind of a cheerleader and other people did the work? And I was like, and then I sent that to Max Dalton, and I was like, this is my best idea for a vision. If you want this, I will apply, but I don't, probably not. And then he was like, thanks. And then I took that as a no, which I think is correct on every front. But cheerleaderiness is good. We need it, especially in a world of like, in a community of disagreeable, unhurtable cats.
But cheerleading for what, Hannah? Because you are principally on your TikToks or YouTube Reels or whatever it is, are principally just doing AI stuff, right?
Principally what?
Just doing AI stuff.
That's
like,
right.
Like about AI safety and new results and maybe bashing on OpenAI a little and things like this. It's like very issue focused because there is like, this one issue. We don't live in a world where the ideas are important. So you're not cheerleading for the ideas.
That's right. But my plan as potential CEO of CEA was to not worry about it that much.
I love it. And I also endorse the CEO of CEA being that kind of figurehead type person, because you need a platform. I mean, did Rob Wiblin is just like the proof of concept here, right? Director of research at 80,000 Hours for many years, when in fact he was doing the job that I think he explicitly has now, which is podcast host.
That's right. So I think there's room and value in sort of mere cheerleading. That's my hot take.
I think maybe I feel like I don't understand the case that you're like not really an EA or something. That like if it has to be like, are you honed all the time on the most optimal actions versus like, I like this thing. It feels good to me. I'm doing stuff that seems helpful, even if not like maximally.
Yeah, just like
I will make a stronger case against you. Here's my take. I think it's really hard to do this stuff and figure it out alone. Like there are some people, I hope you'll let me hype you up, Julia, but there are some people like Julia and like some of the other folks we know who like figured this out on their own and like, or figured out a lot of important things on their own and orient to that in a kind of deep way. And like, what does Scott Alexander say when EA is threatened? He's like, if they made it illegal, I would like do it in my basement, whatever. Most people are not like that. And I think the obligation or the hope or the value of folks like that, including me, like I'm a pretty like ideological person, but I'm also pretty socially motivated, is to like create the right amount of surface area. And I think, Matt, if I spent a lot of time yelling at you to do something better than you're doing, and you like totally shut me out and listen and like maybe like didn't respond to my messages for a while, or like we're kind of avoiding, I mean, that would be terrible. Who would do that? But then I think I would judge you more. Like there's a thing where like when your community, these like people that you like sort of outsource, like we're doing this group global cognition, we're like all working on it together. If your community calls on you and you like still like don't heed the call to adventure, if you like run away, like Jonah, goes on the ship instead of going to Nineveh, and you like never go to Nineveh, then I think I do object. I have this story I like, which is, there were many conversations about this, like, does EA pressure people too much? Does it like push too hard? And I was telling the story either to or in front of Claire Zabel. I was like, I was a teacher for such a long time. And like, I feel like people were like, liked my engagement with the ideas and weren't rude to me or pressuring or, no one pressured me to take a different job. And Claire was like, well, if you'd been in the Bay, I would have pressured you. Which I so deeply appreciate. I'm like, yeah, good, great. Then I probably would have switched earlier.
Yeah, the right amount of pressure is not zero. Man, calibrating on, like when do you like be a human? Like I read all these posts about like, guys, you're too stressed out. Like consider like being nice to yourself sometimes and like having some things in your life that you value. But then sometimes I'm like, but like consider like reining it in, like also like maybe less like the party scene maybe could become a less like have a little less fun, please. Um, man, getting people the correctly calibrated advice across thousands of people,
each of which with their own neurovergences and divergences.
How literally did they take things? Yes.
Yes, exactly. So that's my take, Matt. I think it's okay to not hit your potential until such a time as I yell at you about it, and then if you don't listen, then you're a bad person.
Fantastic. I mean, Hannah, yell at me about whatever you want personally. I'll just say that like I do think the call is out there, right? Just generally for everyone to like come up and answer and do the high impact AI safety thing, which I'm like not answering, but maybe I could be more excused for not answering because it's not so personalized and I could be wrong. I may also be sandbagging, right? I could just do that. I could not appear to be like the right person to fill the role that needs to be filled by being relatively incompetent at my job. Ask any of my bosses, and therefore get away with just doing the thing that's exciting for me. And then when called, implicitly at least dismissing the call.
I truly had never considered the possibility. There's this classic thing that happens in EA job interviews, which I find extremely wholesome, where like if there's like a lot of trust, it will start by the person applying for the job being like, here's all the reasons you shouldn't hire me, which I have done several times to several hiring managers, and also had people do to me. I had never considered the possibility that people are like a little bit like telling themselves a story of like, if I was competent enough to do this, it would incur a moral obligation, and that's like very frightening. That's a great.
You have watched me avoid becoming a manager for years now. Oh. It finally got me, but that's a great just like, no thanks. I have enough hard parts of my job. I don't also want to be a manager. That sounds kind of hard.
that feels like you're like, I'm not up for that, rather than you're like, I would be so bad at it. Like, I think everyone kind of agreed that you would like rise to it if you needed to or something, and you like didn't want to. And that was, it's okay to have preferences. But maybe there was some sandbagging. Maybe there was some self-sandbagging. That's interesting.
So back when everyone thought that earning to give was the end all be all, like my first interaction with Proto 80K was I like made this post on LessWrong about like, oh, should I try to get into some higher earning career? This sort of like the proto earning to give stuff was like in the water. And Carl Schulman set up this like call with me afterwards. He was like volunteering for like the beginnings of what would become 80,000 hours, and talked me through it. Like at the time, what I was most interested in was like becoming a psychiatrist, because I was already like training to work in mental health. I knew I was interested in the area. I was like, this is the only thing I can like possibly contemplate, whereas like law school felt like completely unacceptable as an option to me, or whatever. And like finance, I knew I like was not gonna make it. So he like talked me through like, this is med school. This is what you would need to like study to like apply. This is like what it would be like. This is the like, we talked through the whole thing, and I was just like, no, I think I would burn out if I did medical. Like, it sounds really hard. I think I would burn out. He's like, statistically, you probably wouldn't. Like, almost everyone who starts, like, if you get accepted and enroll in a program, like, you probably finish the program and become a doctor. I was like, damn it, that's not. I don't want to do med school. It's like the actual crux. It's like, sounds really awful.
That's it. Yeah. The population of people entering med school are not usually people who have been like bullied into it by their philosophical peers.
Well, but also they have by their parents, right? It's just like they've been told their whole life, you're going to do us proud, you're going to make a good income, you're going to have a good life. So, but I wasn't raised in that environment. So I think trying to like pivot at age 24 or whatever maybe was like not it didn't work. Like, I did not, in fact, have parents like phoning me up and saying like, you have to do this.
God, the alternate universe in which you became a doctor on the basis of this advice, and the 80K spent all this time getting people to stop being doctors, really has like a Sneetches on the island with the two machines kind of energy. We turn people into doctors so that we can take them away from being doctors, and and all the good is, and then we count the good in both directions. The impact, it's positive both ways.
Yeah, it could be a plan change twice. Do you get to count plan changes multiple times from the same person?
As long as they're better each time. Yeah.
Luckily, I just
I've
did
had to
it like
contend.
instantly, so I was like, "Great, I'm not a doctor."
Something I've sometimes had to contend with in my job searches has been, people for some specific jobs being like, Chana, I think you'd be like a great choice for like the specific thing or whatever. And I'm like, that doesn't seem true. And maybe I'm just, maybe I have imposter syndrome like everybody else. And I'm such, and then I was like, and then I did. Great, we're going embarrassing. And then after this happened a few times, I was like, should I consider the hypothesis that I'm just like maybe I'm a genius. Like maybe I'm just great. I should just at least like consider this hypothesis. And then I was like, but I don't think that's the answer. But like, it's like living in the back of my head. And then after some chatting with people, I was like, oh, the synthesis is like, we just don't have that many people. So I can be the best person someone can think of for multiple jobs and also not that good at any, like not a great choice in the broader sense. And that's like such an amazing worst of both worlds. It's like I have the obligation to like pick one of them and like do my best and also not feel like a genius. Which I think, Julia, you can resonate with a lot. I'm just like, the world calls.
The example I remember about this was like someone who was like, they were doing this grant making project and like some kind of like more bureaucratic person in like trying to advise this project was like trying to grasp like what is going on here, like why are you guys doing this grant making about these fields that you're not really experts on. And like the sort of more bureaucratic person asked like, do you feel that you can do a good job here? And the other person just like burst into tears like, no, but like the other people would do it worse. Like, I don't know, like I'm not doing this because I think I am like really competent at it. And just like, yeah, what do you do with such roles? I mean, sometimes I'm like, they just shouldn't exist. You should not fill them. But like sometimes you should fill them with someone who is like, I am inadequate, but not having this filled is even worse.
I think so often the answer to like, why does EA do X is because like, we couldn't think of anything better. If you have ideas, let us know. And I do strongly, and have for a long time, especially when I was working in community health, but in general, like think of like the mental strain and like the emotional strain of like hard jobs of various kinds, whether they're hard because you're interfacing with a community that can be somewhat critical, or just that like the stories you're hearing are very hard and like emotionally hard to contend with, or the feeling of like, I am not good at this and I am just going to have to like come face to face with my inadequacy every day as like part of the sacrifice. Like people think about salary sacrifice, people think about time. And like, it has always been very live for me that like part of what I am, sorry, I feel like this is not really in line with like be a human, but like part of what I am sacrificing is like my ideal mental health or something. Like I had a lot of fun being a teacher. It was very fun. It was very well suited for me. And like now I'm doing other things that are also fun and interesting and like well suited for me in a bunch of ways, but like they're not optimized to being well suited for me because that's not the basis on which I took them.
And the thing we used to talk about like on our team was like mastery feels good, and like we don't work in a field where you get to feel a lot of mastery of like, yeah, I totally know what I'm doing here, I'm an expert, like it's straightforward what I should be doing and I can tell that I am doing it well. Like that, it's so many jobs in EA are not that. You will not get that kind of satisfaction from your job. And so where do you get that in other parts of your life? And like having like, I am embroidering a pillow cover right now. It's coming out fine. I feel like totally adequate about my performance on this. And just like, there are other parts of my life where like, I can feel like, yep, I did this thing. It's fine. I did a pretty good job. And you like need that somewhere if you're not getting it from your job.
Wow, this really does explain the EA affection for weightlifting. Ripping on this podcast, but you're adequate at it by just showing up.
You can make progress. You can tell what progress you're making.
That's right.
I sent some angry tweets at Andy and Peter just before we started recording because they're wrong about weightlifting things, and I'm stronger than them, and this just like it all upsets me a lot. What's that?
You're not a vegan. Andy Masley's trying to be the vegan weightlifter.
I am a vegan, homie. This is just like what Hana. Guess what, Julia? Last episode we learned that Hana
like last episode
that Hana was bisexual. Can't believe it. And this episode we learned that Matt's vegan.
Straight girl, just like straight to my face, like he just like knew it.
I hope whatever other interesting characteristics you guys have, you just like space out adequately. Like you don't want to like blow the whole whatever other traits you have that you don't know about each other. I hope you like can get like roughly one per episode. That seems ideal. I want to tell you my
Amazing.
EA weights story. Okay, the reason that I don't like exercise, I don't know. I've never been an exercise person. It doesn't feel good to me. I don't get this like endorphin rush that people talk about. The reason that I started doing any weights at all, which is a kettlebell, to be clear, it's not like big, powerful people weights, was in the now fairly inactive Women and Non-Binary People's Facebook group. Oh, no, maybe it was just someone I kind of knew from there. But she somehow, this woman I knew from EA posted about going to the gym and seeing other women do these like not intensive workouts where they're like walking on a treadmill and reading a magazine or something. And she's like, I was raised by my grandmother and I care about women's like bone health and like stability and like physical strength. I have seen that this is important to your quality of life as you get older and like you should get strong. And this like clicked for me in a way that like nothing else before or since has done. And I'm like, I will do weight bearing exercise. I like got a kettlebell. I like watch little videos and like I do little 10-minute kettlebell workouts. I am like not a gym person. I can't be bothered to like leave my house to like go to another location for exercise or anything like that. But this clicked for me, and I am grateful to her for like this kind of aggro post. She definitely like got into arguments with other people in the comments where they were like, you're shaming people. But like it worked. It clicked with me. I needed like a little shame here, and I am like physically stronger.
That makes me so happy. I yell at my parents a lot to weightlift more. And I do think, I mean, it's just this like annoying thing where exercise is so good on so many different axes for most people, blah, blah, blah. But it just does mean that there's like a different pitch. It's like maybe it's like get big, get big. But like maybe it's like, yeah, man, like your bones should be dense and it would be nice not to like have hip replacements and whatever.
So yeah, we've really honed in on the theme of the show, which is to be susceptible to peer pressure.
That's right.
I'll consider being a bit more, but also just like the I mean, Julia, you mentioned maybe 5 minutes ago like wanting mastery or whatever. I think is much of the temptation for EAs to be meta EAs, and I feel that real hard because one thing I know about in the EA sphere is EA itself, and I can ruminate on that all day.
Yeah, I think everyone who works in meta EA feels really confident what the EA strategy should be.
Yeah, okay. My counterpoint to this is like Jeff works in biosecurity, right? And they're just like they're like actually doing things. They're like finding pathogens in the wastewater. And there was a lot of meta before that of like making our research plan and how are we gonna do this and figure out the funding and all this stuff you gotta figure out. But like now they just like actually have experiments that are actually detecting, and thankfully so far it's been like, oh, a vaccine from some study that they like dumped down the sink. Which makes for an interesting Sunday morning. But I hear other people like in AI safety just like, oh, those bio people, sometimes they get concrete wins and they can tell if their projects are working in some sense that is just like impossible in other fields. Yeah, so sometimes there are ways that his work feels like there is a more concrete way to tell if like the thing is working.
Yeah, so I guess in my case, it just really dovetails nicely that I just like don't care about the outcomes of my work. I just like ruminating on ideas. So you combine that with the mastery, and then I feel mastery. Yeah, it's great, but very selfish and very unimpactful. So I'll reflect on what I've done. I feel the relevant peer pressure from you two. All right. Well, Julia, there's like so much more that we could have touched on. I guess,
Part two.
reflect.
Part two.
Yeah. No, totally, total possibility. But yeah, I mean, go and prevent ideological osteoporosis by keeping your community healthy with the community health team. That's what I say. Let's go. Thanks, Julia.
All right.
Thanks so much. Julie is the best.
Yeah, she's pretty great. We didn't even get into like the baguettes.
Don't do that.
Oh, she doesn't like that?
Well, she's just talked about it enough times. I think she's like done with the candy apple and the baguette.
I think the people, the listeners, they don't know about the baguettes. It's too deep in ancient history, but they should know.
I think it's okay for you to tell the story if you want to tell it now. But I would have rolled my eyes if you'd asked her live.
So as Julia mentioned when she was with us, she's kind of trained in mental health, social work particularly. She was a social worker in the Boston area, making what social workers make, which is not that much. However, of course, a big donator too. So like from her $40,000 salary or perhaps less, was giving away just like big double-digit percentages of it, including to the early burgeoning Center for Effective Altruism, run out of the back of an estate office in Oxford somewhere to pay for the hummus and baguettes to feed the staff, who are all, again, making like less than 10K from all sources combined. Just a real mensch.
Like it's the candy apple sheet. I think we can cut that part. Or like it doesn't.
Well, I don't even know about the candy apples. What's up with the candy apples?
Whatever. There's some story you can find in some news article about like her being very emotional over being bought a candy apple because of the money. Whatever.
Oh, right. I vaguely recall this. Yeah. Solid.
But no, she's very into the hummus and baguette. No, she's a great drum beater at CEA. Not for like, we shouldn't spend money, it's like bad, but just recall that you can survive perfectly well off of hummus and baguettes. It's just like an important thing to keep in mind. It's not always the case that you should, but you can with great happiness.
And I paid for them with my $30,000 salary.
That's right. I bought you.
The authority. That's what I want, Hannah.
You're a vegan. This is blowing my mind.
Oh, how is that? What did you think?
Absolutely blowing my mind.
I guess because I'm kind of conservative. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I talk about animals all the time.
You what?
I talk about animals all the time.
You do not. I think we've never had a conversation about animals. You and I. Ever.
Did you read my Soul VA post? I was like, guys, animals.
I did read your Soul VA post, but if I'm honest. Well, no, I found that piece very earnest. Sometimes people bring up animals. The only time they ever bring up animals is to shame other EAs. Do you know what I mean? Like animals just get to be this like bludgeon for like AI safety people to bludgeon global health people for not being scope sensitive, or for global health people to bludgeon AI safety people for not being like connected enough to the world as it is. And then in the middle, the animal people are like, wait, we actually are just always thinking about the animals.
Just pawns in your game.
That's my reason to politics. There was this interesting moment. I saw a tweet the other day. There's some bee discourse on EA Twitter.
Oh, so good.
And someone from the global health world said something like, I come from the global health side of EA, and I like feel really appalled by the idea of thinking about, a bee day as like, 1/7 as morally valenced as a human day. Like this just really feels like the wrong way to think about EA. I forget exactly what they said, but it was a good reminder. I hope this person doesn't mind being used this way in my mind, but like as someone who both thinks you should go weird and is kind of, is socially malleable, like many humans, and thinks a lot about this, like, should you just, you should just say your beliefs out loud. I think it's a good reminder that, like, if we were weird in a different way, people would also object to that. Like, you just don't get to escape. If you just, like, start, like, shaving off your weirdnesses, the weirdest thing you do, somebody will be upset about.
And wait, can you flesh this out just a little more? So this is, if the EAs peeled off the B stuff, then they would be...
Or, like, we gave up on it when it was weirder or whatever. And we, like, merely... felt comfortable being weird about like animal welfare. Folks from like more grounded, normal global health side might be like, what the fuck, guys? Like there are like real humans out there and you're like fucking talking about bees? And I can like totally tap into that. And I also would be like, yes, Yes, we are absolutely the fuck talking about bees. Yeah, bro, come at me. Even if we were like merely like a global health and well-being focused movement, but there was like a range within that, whether like it's like long-termism or whether, you know, like you get sticky into like, you know, poor meat eater problems or whatever. No doubt there would be people who are like, what the fuck are you doing with these like speculative, I don't know what is happening here. You're like having really odd philosophical beliefs about what makes a good life, and you're like implementing them on these like, you know, random Kenyans who you've decided are your like experimental subjects. And then like that would also, you know, like we will never escape. There is not some peaceful alternative where nobody is mad at each other, because when there are stakes, people care. That's good. Also, when there aren't stakes, people also get really mad, which is why Twitter exists. So really, there's just no escaping it at all.
People be mad.
People be mad.
Oh, Hannah, speaking of mad, you're gonna get mad at me, maybe, or you should get mad at me, because you know how I give you all this shit about how you're flaky and you don't show up to the pod.
Are you skipping next week?
I have an obligation.
Wow, you have a what obligation?
An obligation.
You want to flesh that out a little more for the listeners?
No, because it's legit. It's for work. We have a conference.
Oh, you can't just like spare an hour at a conference? What, you're going to be busy the whole time?
I'm running the conference.
Everyone knows the person running the conference is doing the least work. Come now.
I'm like announcing almost every session.
I'm truly just harnessing my best Matt impression.
That's fair enough.
I'll allow it. One thing you should know when you're thinking about guests is 3 weeks from now, my parents will be in town. So I could have.
Well, their being in town isn't material, right? It's a Zoom podcast.
It's even easier when we're all in the same space and time zone.
So you're gonna like hold the laptop further away. There's not another arm of the couch further from where you sit, where you can get your parents. I guess you can sit further back. That's fair. Yeah, there you go. Wow, I can picture him now, Hannah. Amazing.
Just saying, it could be a vibe. Great.
All right, you going to the gym?
Yeah.
Fuck
or
yeah.
Yoga, which I know you don't approve of.
Yeah, it's pretty weak stuff.
I
At least
love
get the kettlebells out. You gotta fix your osteoporosis or prevent it.
That's right. My timelines and my fear of osteoporosis live in uncomfortable tension. But yeah.
Fair enough. All right, that was a banger.
That was a fucking banger. Great choice of
All
guest.
right. See you in 2 weeks, Hannah.